What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit YouTube channel. I'm Mika, joined by my guy Morgan Cannon here, and we are back with another Scout the Opponent video, where this week we're going to be taking a look at the Lions' Week 4 opponent, the Seattle Seahawks, who are going to be coming into Detroit 3-0 for Monday Night Football. Morgan, this is going to be an exciting game for a number of reasons. One of those reasons being we finally get to see the Lions rock the black jerseys on Monday Night Football, which is going to be exciting. The first time that they've worn these types of jerseys, basically since the Dan Campbell, Calvin Johnson, era type of time of the team. So exciting to see that. Obviously, Seattle coming in here 3-0 on the season, playing good football. Some questions about the team overall, but when it comes down to how this team has matched up with Detroit in the last couple of years, we kind of know the record, right? The Lions are 0-2 against Seattle the last few years, and it's been some really tough games, right? Big amount of points put up. The defense not always looking like its best. And there's one person that we kind of got to point to when we look at these performances, right?
Yeah, man. I think it's, I think people are coming around to it, that like giving Geno Smith like his respect, because he's earned it, man. Like he started at the Jets when they were in rough shape organizationally, and he's really gotten a second chance and made the most of it. So yeah, like him and this receiving core, it's one of the best receiving cores in football right now, in my opinion, top to bottom, with Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like that's a three-headed monster right there, right?
Yeah, and then you talk about having Kenneth Walker in the backfield, and then also having Zach Charbonnet, another big back that they're able to rotate between. And then you still have Noah Fant, who again probably never has lived up to the hype that he had coming out of Iowa alongside TJ Hockenson in that draft, but again, another skillful pass catcher at that tight end position. So this Seattle offense is loaded when you look at everywhere, from the quarterback position out to the skill positions. Offensive line can be a little questionable at times. They definitely haven't been playing their best football this season. We'll definitely get into that near the end of this video when talking about what it might take to contain Geno Smith. But yeah, there's no doubt about it. Geno is very much in the same mold as Baker Mayfield, in my opinion. We talked about in week 2 when the Lions played the Bucs, and just like you said, getting that second chance to be a starting quarterback and is really thriving and is starting to really, get that confidence that is needed to help his team. Like, he's a key contributor to them being 3-0. He's not just along for the ride.
Yeah, no doubt. Like he's a cog, man. Like very similar the way, Goff is here with the Lions. Like he's gotten his respect. Like, okay, like this is an NFL quarterback. Definitely different molds, right? Like Geno Smith to Jared Goff. But yeah, excited I watched a couple games in prep for this. Well, 2 of their games, and I know you did too. It pops. He's playing well. There's some turnover worthy balls here or there.
Yeah.
But, like we talked about, their skill guys are awesome. Like top to bottom, like you talked about Kenneth Walker and everybody else. But a little bit later, we will talk about the O-line, which is a little susceptible right now. And even, I know the Lions are a little banged up on the front with, Lee McNeil's status in question. And, but I still, like we talked about it, I have faith in the guys like Aiden Hutchinson, Levi Onwuzurike, Mekhi Wingo, Pascal, everybody else. So fun to get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's start taking a look at Geno Smith. And one of the things, Morgan, that really stands out to me when watching Geno is kind of just how effortlessly he makes some of these plays, right? Like, not a lot of wasted motion, really knows where he wants to go with the football and is able to get there and to get the ball out of his hand quickly.
Yeah, 33 years old at this point, been in the league a long time, and he's a pro. Like we talk about, when you hear offensive coordinators talk about like ball handling and like in football, and you're like, what do you mean ball handling? This is what they're talking about, right? Like being fluid. You got the play action, boom, couple steps, zip it out off platform, right on target, easy first down. Like this is a staple in their offense. They do a lot of motion. And it's not just like man indicating motion either. It's, to get people into different releases and just make things a little bit easier for, the receiver to get open and for Geno Smith to get him the ball. So it's an efficient way to do things. And yeah, you see a lot of this when you turn on the tape.
Yeah. Also just like, again, his calmness, his demeanor of like, again, having a man in his face with his hands up, still able to calmly deliver this football, get it to his guy. And these are the types of things that, like, again, kind of have me a little, not like overly concerned, but a little concerned about the Lions defense when it comes down to lining up against Geno and these skill players. Is if you give Geno like these favorable types of matchups where if you're going to play off coverage like this, like he's smart enough, he's seen enough of the game where he knows exactly where he needs to go for the football to get the yardage that he needs to put his offense in the most optimal position. And that play, like Denver's playing off coverage. So again, a quick out pass to Jackson Smith and Jigba equals a 10-yard gain that immediately gives them, a first down.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it easy. And if that's a staple in your offense, like similar to how the Lions have looked for like a couple of years now, hopefully we get back to seeing that here on Monday night. But you have those, just bookends in your offense where, if you go to this concept, you're probably going to get a first down. And Seattle's got that. And a lot of it's to do with just, they have the people outside to really make a lot of this work. But it's execution too. Like they have a lot of experienced players now who have been in the system for a minute, right?
Yeah. And I love how you pointed out execution, because their ability to execute at a high level does put additional pressure on your defense for them to have their communication on point. This is a really good example of that, where the Patriots don't quite have this play communicated well, and it leads to a big gain that Geno is able to take advantage of.
Yeah, and we'll call this a switch release. So when you hear about like coaches or analysts talk about a switch release, this is what you're talking about. So Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to motion into the trips over here, and then Tyler Lockett, just being the vet that he is at the top of the bunch, boom, runs into 29 or whoever that is for New England. And you have to sell that, right? Because if you just run in there with your hands out or like this, they're going to call OPI. That's when you hear offensive pass interference. And everyone's running these pick plays nowadays because it's easy yardage if you execute it right. But boom, perfect stop, Miko, beautifully executed. But yeah, that's a perfect pick and he even falls down. That's why I said such a vet move, right? Because he sold that thing. Yeah, and Jigba's wide open, and another easy. What is this? 19 yards.
Yeah, and this is where I say, like, again, communication has to be key. You pointed out to me that like the Lions saw a similar concept like this last week against the Cardinals, where Carlton Davis and Brian Branch handled this perfectly, where it's a quick amount of communication, but the minute you recognize like, hey, your man's coming inside and my man is going outside, we have to switch that, right? It's something that's like very common in basketball, right, Morgan? Like when you're playing basketball, when you're switching, when you're playing man to man, that happens very quickly, and you're used to it happening quickly. On the football field, sometimes like other players are not necessarily locked in to be able to pick up these quick type of nuances of like, hey, this is happening really quick. You need to quickly adjust and not just focus on the fact that you're man to man now. Like we're switching this.
Yeah, and it has to happen almost instantaneously. Love that you pointed, like the basketball reference is it sticks here because like Brian Branch and Carlton Davis, check out the film review that I wrote it was about Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, but they switched it perfectly, and it was very similar to this. They motioned into a switch release. You got to be ready to pass this off, especially if you're over there in trips, right? Like, hey, if they do a switch release here, they try to pick us, it has to happen quick. And that's where we talk about like communication and like playing with each other matters in the secondary, like almost like an offensive line to an extent, because you're moving as one unit. Like you have to cover the ground and you have to pass things off and communicate properly. Otherwise you give up a free 20 yards almost. That was an easy pitch and catch. We don't want a lot of that on Monday night, because then it's like, dang, they're probably moving the ball pretty well,
Well, yeah, and it's, again, you're putting your defense out there on the field for much longer. You're not allowing your offense to get into a rhythm, which the Lions are going to need that as well, is the defense helping the offense basically continue to that momentum that they had last week. So the more stops the defense can get by communicating and just having, being locked in that sense, the better for this team altogether. But sometimes things you can have great coverage, but goes back to Geno Smith being a much better quarterback than people kind of give him credit for, because you have plays like this in this pass that he makes to Tyler Lockett, where this is just great placement, Morgan, and the defense can't be that much better.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's in phase here, 21 for Denver, but it's just this is Lockett and Geno Smith having great like rapport, because they've been playing with each other for a minute now, right? So
yeah, 3 years at this point.
Yeah, this is just them, having everything in sync, and it's good placement, like from Geno Smith. And yeah, you're going to have to win some of these, Like if you're Terrion Arnold, if you're Carlton Davis or Amik or whoever it is out there, you're going to have to win some of these. And I will say the Lions DB, like Lions have to be up there in pass breakups as a team, because I feel like Brian Branch has a bunch, Kirby has a bunch, Terrion has a few, Carlton has, I think, a few now too. So, but yeah, you're going to have to win some of these. Some are just better offense beats better defense. Another basketball analogy. Sometimes you can't play more perfect defense. That shot's still going to go in.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
Well, first of all, definitely agree with that. Like, this is a situation where, like I said earlier, like I don't know how much better the defense can be. And this is, again, when a quarterback has that type of, rapport with his receiver, that type of ball placement, and that type of, like, just, again, guts to just hang into the pocket. Because I think that's another thing that we definitely want to touch on in this film review is if you're keeping an eye on the offensive line on some of these plays, it's not like Geno has perfectly clean pockets, right? Like, he's having to throw with hands and bodies around him. And it kind of goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of this video. Like, this offensive line has given up 8 sacks already, right? Geno's getting hit quite a bit. And that's led to a couple interceptions. That's led to, again, them being behind the sticks. But he has not allowed that to really affect him, Morgan, when it comes down to doing his job and trusting his guys on the outside to be able to put the ball up and expecting them to make play.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is too. Like, he knows that his offensive line isn't the best situation in football right now, but he's a vet and he trusts that, like, hey, my guy's better than yours 9 times out of 10, so I'm going to go ahead and put this ball where I think it's going to, where it needs to be. And that's a big part of their offense, no doubt. Like, they want to run the football. Might be, I do think what we're seeing from the Lions in terms of stopping the run is not like a fad. I think that's going to stick. Like, they devote resources to it, man. That's why you pay DJ Reader. That's why you have players like Josh Paschal, who are like, is just excellent against the run, and, these other guys. So yeah, I think you're going to continue to see that. And we're going to beat a dead horse here. I hate to use that analogy, but make them one-dimensional, man. It just makes it a lot easier because they're already hard to stop because the skill players that they have that we've talked about now, but it makes it a little bit less difficult if you can stop the run and kind of take out some of that, guesswork on a down-to-down basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like we mentioned, like Kenneth Walker, when healthy or healthy enough, is dangerous enough. And if you have to worry about Geno being back there dealing, from just in the passing game, and then also have to worry about Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet getting it going on the ground, then that's, again, you're just having too much to deal with. But we also got to keep in mind that Geno's no stranger to taking plays and making plays on the ground as well.
Yeah, and this is just poor rush lane integrity from Denver, and then Geno does that. Ooh, he hit him with a little Euro step. I didn't see that earlier. Does he at the time?
Yeah, a little bit of, yep.
Oh,
the slightest bit of movement. And it's just like, these are the types of plays where, again, we're so used to, I think, some of like the big plays that he makes to decaf, right? Like, and we're going to look at some of those, like these 50, 70-yard bombs, or again, some of the quick decisions that we talked about to Jackson Smith and Jigba, or a back shoulder to Lockett. But like, if you forget about the fact that Geno Smith, even at 33 years old, can still move, you're going to open your defense up to this. And with an Aaron Glenn defense that likes to play man-to-man, and you can find yourself in situations where there's someone doesn't have eyes on the quarterback, like, you have to be aware of this. And I love how you pointed out, like, or rush lane integrity. The Lions are going to have to show that same level of rush lane integrity that they showed last week against Kyler Murray if they want to kind of keep this Seahawks defense contained.
Yeah, because if you don't, he can, like, obviously Kyler Murray is a different kind of athlete, but we're seeing it here. This is a big run, and he makes someone look foolish in space. 99 on Denver does a crappy job here, kind of gets washed out. Smith Walker, pretty good blitz pickup, doesn't pick him up completely, but gets a good chunk of him and allows Geno to step up in the pocket and eventually take off. So, yeah, he'll make you. And they brought, what, 6 or 7 there?
Yeah.
That's what happens if you blitz, you don't get home, and you're playing in man coverage, bad things can happen.
Yep. And if you're not great in tackling in space, right? Like, again, if you're not, if you get a little sloppy in technique or get sloppy in just how you're going to break down and tackle someone, again, next thing you know, you're on Sports Center, or someone's talking about how you got to check out your shoes. So,
oh no, I don't. There's nothing worse. You'd almost rather get ran over. I don't know. It's tough.
probably not by a quarterback. Like I think by a running back, like it's acceptable. Like, okay, like that happens. If you get ran over by a quarterback in this league, it's just like,
yeah,
you know, we're not talking about Ben Roethlisberger back in the early 2000s when he was like truck sticking people. Like you can't have Geno Smith doing that to you.
No doubt.
But the thing that I think, again, going back to what Geno does best, and I think what the Lions absolutely cannot afford to happen outside of everything else that we've talked about, it's these types of big plays. Like Geno Smith in this offense are very much like the Lions in this way, where they are waiting for their opportunity to take their shots. And when those shots come, it's usually to DK Metcalf, and it's for a lot of yards for you.
Yeah, and I don't know what New England's doing here, but my goodness, they made it easy for the man. So Metcalf is a terrific receiver. He's big, he's physical. Like, you know, there's that podcast with Darius Slay where Slay's talking about why is this man like basically trying to fight me? And he brings that intensity. Good thing is I think Carlton Davis wants all that smoke, which good for us. Like I'm cool with that. It's gonna be fun to watch. Hopefully for us. And but yeah, this is I don't know what New England is doing, bro, because really just Metcalf is running a go. Whoever's at the bottom of the screen down there runs like an in, and New England, I don't know, they just don't want to cover DK Metcalf, I guess. And Geno Smith's like, give me that.
Yeah, you know? Like it's weird because both guys seem to be inching towards DK as if like one of them is responsible, but that's clearly not the case. Like someone is responsible for that deep third. And this is where I pointed it out to you earlier. Like I think Geno is he sees the field so well. And so when you make mistakes like this, he's not going to miss it. He's going to take that shot. And oftentimes it's going to lead to scores like this. He did it against New England. He did it against Miami last week on something that's probably even nastier, and more credit goes to DK on being able to just shake Javon Holland out of his shoes. But these types of deep shots are something that they're looking to incorporate into their offense.
Yeah, and this is tough. Like, so Miami's in a zone look, and DK is like selling that post. And as soon as that safety takes a couple steps forward, he back up field, and this is just, like right here, it's all over. As soon as that safety starts to drive on that post that he thinks DK is about to run, it's all over because Metcalf puts his foot in the ground. See ya. And another good ball from Geno Smith. Again, they've been playing with each other too. That's actually not even, he slowed him down a little bit, but it didn't matter. He's going to run away from everybody.
Well, I was going to say, like, it's if we look back at the offensive line when he lets this ball go, it's once again, he's got people around him. He's got a tackler that's basically, hitting him as he's letting this ball go. So as much as like, Morgan, I feel like we often say this with a defensive line, and if you're going up against a quarterback that's, very adept at getting the ball out or getting the ball out quickly, like, hey, hit him as much as you possibly can. Geno Smith does not have like the type of arm talent that we typically like gush about when we talk about Matthew Stafford or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, but he has that same type of mentality where he'll hang in there. He'll take a hit just so that he can try to deliver a ball down the field. And maybe that's why he has 3 interceptions on the season and only 3 touchdowns. Or again, maybe things just are taking a while for their offense to gel as well. But him having that mentality and knowing and trusting in his receivers to get open and to make plays, like I don't think it's enough just to say if you're the Lions defensive line, like, hey, just keep hitting him as much as you possibly can.
No, you got to be smart about it for sure. Like I think because he's one of those, he's a vet, man. He's not really going to get rattled if you hit him. So I think you need to get him on the ground. You need to not let him break the pocket like we saw a couple plays ago when he just climbed the pocket and made a house call from like 30 yards out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, you have to be sound. It's like we talked about, he's not the athlete Kyler Murray is, but he's an athlete and he can make you pay and he can make all the throws. And there's a reason that Seattle's been a pretty good team for a while now, right? Like it's a good organization, first of all. And now, you've surrounded a good, like, pro level quarterback with a bunch of guys who can make plays.
Yeah. I definitely feel like this is a game where the Lions are going to have to incorporate like a little bit of a blended strategy in what they did against the Rams and Matthew Stafford and kind of what they were able to do against Baker Mayfield, where you want to, again, take away throwing windows, but at the same time, like, it's not like you just said, it's not enough to just hit him. Like, you have to get him on the ground, because if you don't, He'll extend plays. He'll take chances. And if that's the case, then your secondary has to be sound on the back end, right? Like they have to be willing to be in coverage, taking away easy throws so that basically making Geno have to hold the ball a little bit longer so that your defensive line can get there. Because like we said at the top of the show, offensive line, not very good, right? This is a play where both tackles, Morgan, get walked back into the lap of Geno Smith. And no disrespect to these pass rushers, but Aiden Hutchinson should be able to do this on a down by down basis if that's the case.
I was just thinking, like, if Hutchinson's watching this film, and I'm sure he is, he just watched that rep from that's Stone Forsythe. Great name, by the way, especially for an offensive lineman. Stone Forsythe, 78 at right tackle there. And this is just tough, man. He gets that outside shoulder turned immediately. Then he gets just kind of thrown to the side. That is a rough rep. And then it's a tough rep for Charles Cross, too, the left tackle, number 67. Yeah, just overall not great. And what's exciting is we've seen now three games in a row where the Lions front has looked as advertised, both against the run and getting after the quarterback. You know, like it's Hutchinson for sure. Like he's quickly catapulting his name into like the S tier echelon with like the Myles Garrett's. Like if he keeps this up, that is. But you're getting really good production. Like Mekhi Wingo had a pressure last week where I think he was like almost in on a sack with Hutchinson. I think he had a hit too. And then you had Levi has been awesome, like as advertised as well.
Yeah.
So like, I think you have to have another big game from your front, and they should be feeding off the crowd. It's going to be bananas in there again. We'll both be, Nico's coming with me for this game, which we're excited about. It's going to be a great night. Exciting. So yeah, like I do think it's going to be we have to have another big night from the front, because you got to be able to pressure. If you can pressure, like hurry him up, like speed up his process and sack him, a couple of times with 4 or 5 rushers, that's going to be huge, because then you're devoting, it sounds simple, but that's really what it is. You're devoting more people to the back end to be able to cover these skill guys that we've been raving about.
Yeah, and I think as much as we talk about the defensive line having their great performances, this secondary has lived up to the bill of, again, being much improved. And so I think that's part of the other thing that leads to this sack of Geno Smith. You look at the top, DK Metcalf is being taken away here. Both receivers down at the bottom are basically covered. Like it seems simple to say it, but again, just making him hold the ball for an extra second, maybe second and a half. And that gives your lineman an opportunity to really just start to, close that pocket on him and keep him from, again, exploiting any type of rushing lane. So I'm with you. I think the Lions definitely need a strong performance from their defensive line that they've continued to have the last couple of weeks, not just Aiden Hutchinson. I think Levi needs to continue to show up, whether they have Aleem McNeil or not. I think, to your point, Mekhi Wingo has definitely been playing better than I think maybe some expected of a 6th-round draft pick, but has definitely been earning his reps along the way. I think this is a really good opportunity for Josh Paschal to really kind of reemerge and to really put a stamp on this game, with Marcus Davenport being out for some time, possibly the rest of the season. So that should lead to more opportunities for Paschal. There's a lot of things that this Lions defensive line can do, and then it just becomes the responsibility of the secondary to just hold up well, right? To continue to be what they've been the last couple of weeks, which is sticky, and make Geno have to make those tough throws. If he's connecting on a lot of back shoulder throws, and I'm like, listen, I can kind of live with it. If it's those 50-50 type balls where, it can really go either way, that's fine. But we can't have, again, guys going and streaking down the field for 50, 70 yards, making house calls.
Yeah, you got to be sound. I'd make them earn it, right? Like, because it's gonna be loud in there. It's gonna be difficult to operate. Ford Field has quickly turned into like one of the toughest places to play in the NFL. I think you do all that, you'll be in good shape. You're gonna give up some plays. That's kind of what I'm glad I caught this. I didn't bring up Aleem McNeil, and I was like, why didn't I? I think I'm like subconsciously prepping myself to not have him, and just maybe hopefully get him back after the bye. I think they have the depth, and Josh Paschal, it's time, Bubba. Like, yeah, it'd be great. Like, cause I think he's going to get a lot of the big end snaps that were going to Davenport opposite of Hutchinson. And like what we just saw there, like, yes, sacks are an individual stat, but then it's really like a team stat. Like if you're going to get a lot of buckets, like it's because other guys are getting good rushes into or being sound in their rush lanes and not allowing them to escape. So I think Hutchinson's like definitely balling, don't get me wrong, but he's got better supporting cast now. And I think that's showing too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So looking ahead to this game, I mean, the last couple of matchups have been high scoring, right? Last year, 37-31, Seahawks win in overtime. The year before that, 48-45. Defense has not been at a premium, Morgan, the last couple of years, and I still think like points are going to be scored. I'm going to say that they don't get to the 30s this week. I kind of have the Lions winning this one 28-21 type of game. Like the defense is going to do enough, right, to allow the Lions to get a win here, but it's still like you're going to see both offenses still kind of flash a bit here, just not anything compared to the last couple of years.
I feel you. I think I'm going to go 27-23. That's going to be my official, like when I have to turn it into Eric here tomorrow. So I'm going to go 27-23. Lions go into the bye, hopefully 3-1, which is good. I'm very happy with that. And we're due to beat the Seahawks, man. It's almost like how I feel about Thanksgiving this year. We're due.
We're due one.
Lord.
Yeah.
Come on.
Listen,
now.
I'm down for getting all the revenge we possibly can this year. Beat the Seahawks, beat the Cowboys, beat the Niners. Like,
yes.
Let's show that we're much improved from last year. And I think we've seen it through the first 3 weeks of the season. This defense looked to be much better. Seattle has looked really good offensively the last 2 weeks. They looked a little rocky week 1 against Denver. So let's see if we can make them look more like the offense they were in week 1 and less like the defense that they were the last couple of weeks.
That's it, man. Like, yeah, that's what we need, because you do that, and I think that the crowd will get really into it. Hopefully you can, force a couple takeaways and run the ball. I think they're going to be able to run the ball if they want to, which they should want to. I think that's going to be part of the game plan for, moving forward, period. But yeah, I think it's all there for the taking to go into the bye the way you want to and hopefully get healthy.
Absolutely, man. So with all that said, that's pretty much going to do it for this week's scouting report of the opponent. Let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. We spent a lot of time talking about Geno Smith, but maybe there's somebody else on the Seahawks team that you're equally concerned about. Maybe it's Kenneth Walker. Maybe you're more focused on just one of the skill players in particular, like DK Metcalf or Jackson Smith-Njigba or Tyler Lockett. Or maybe there's someone on the defensive side that you think could really cause issues for this Lions offense, seeing as we didn't get to talk about the defense at all in this breakdown. So let us know what you're thinking in the comment section below. Also, if you're looking for any more Lions content, you guys already know you can head over to prideofdetroit.com. Check out all the latest articles that are being uploaded over there. And if you're looking to stay tuned into any of the video content we're uploading over here on YouTube or any time that we go live, be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That's going to keep you locked into everything we're doing over here on YouTube. But with all that said, I'm Miko. He's Morgan. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and we'll be sure to catch you guys in the next one.
Beautiful.
It says stop being. It's not.